us about yourself and why you are running to represent Congressional District 5.
Well, great question. My name is Brian Hualde. I was born and raised here in Arizona. I went to school at Northern Arizona University, grew up in the Prescott and Flagstaff area. I've been down in the valley since 2017. After high school, I went to university and decided that in 2003 that I should be serving. I left the university, went and served as an Army medic, was able to come back, become a nurse, now a nurse practitioner. I take care of kids in the pediatric surgery realm. And so I have a lot of life experience with a lot of different things. I raised my six kids over here in the East Valley. I just didn't see that we had leadership in place right now that necessarily represented working people anymore, and wanted to make sure that we had representation in this district that was reflective of the needs of the constituents in this district, rather than I would say probably those of the donors for some of these politicians. I don't think that decisions are necessarily being made for people anymore, and that was a challenge for me to see. So I wanted to be able to step up to be someone that's accountable to the constituents and accessible to the constituents, so that way they have a true voice in Congress.
Got it. No, sounds good. Um, so Brian, tell me or tell us, what do you see as the federal government's role in fostering economic development in Gilbert?
The federal government's role in fostering economic development in Gilbert. Um, the biggest role I could see that they would play is probably regulations, as opposed to kind of how they would structure what is going to be allowed, and kind of tax policy for businesses, and funding for infrastructure and things like that. I would say that um, environmental protections would probably be something in mind for the federal government, as far as how business is structured in Gilbert, to make sure that environmental protections are being adhered to make sure that while we're trying to foster successful businesses, we are also having responsible regulations to make sure that we're doing it in a way that protects our environments, while allowing our businesses to continue to grow in a way they need to help the economy stay strong. And so I also think that business tax policy would probably be something that the federal government would have some control over. And I think that having predictable like regulations and predictable tax policies, and not continually fluctuating policies, is important in that realm.
Got it. How will you work to ensure federal support for education and workforce development in our community?
Oh, great question. I have a strong feeling about education, and when it relays to the workforce specifically, I think that's a great kind of way to tie things all together, because we have a lot of students that don't want to necessarily go to college, but there's a lot of businesses that rely on trades and rely on skilled workers. I have a strong mindset of having trades and other skills be part of regular curriculum in high schools. So students that aren't trying to go into university to try to pursue a higher level degree have real world skills and tangible skills to be able to enter the workforce. And I think that strengthens our businesses, our communities, and that those skills go from things like, as far as bookkeeping, to apprenticeships in different electrical trades or construction trades, or even just if people want to start a business in the realm of culinary. There's a lot of different ways we can go about things and strengthen our education before kids even try to enter a university setting. And we could start doing that at the high school levels.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Well, I have one that ties into all that, because you can't have any of that if we don't have energy and water, right? So, what steps will you take to help secure reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy and water resources to support business growth in Gilbert and Arizona?
That's a really challenging question. In the desert Southwest, water is always the question. There's a perennial drought, and I think I would jump on board with everyone trying to fight for the water rights right now to make sure that Arizona gets its fair share. I think first and foremost, that's going to be one of the most important things for Arizona to make sure that we can continue to be successful. As far as the energy resources needed, I do think that there are a lot of alternative energy sources right now that are being um, somewhat ignored. I think that clean energy is important. I think that it will provide for a stronger future. I think that wind and solar and even nuclear energy are the ways that we need to continue to focus to make sure that we are having all the energy resources we need in this country. Relying on fossil fuels is a challenging thing because they're going to deplete, and we're also going to just continue to kind of tear up the environment to keep utilizing those things. And I think that clean energy is extremely important. I know there's a lot of different programs right now working on like desalination for water and water recycling, and we've come a long way in being able to reutilize our water in a lot of different ways. I'd like to see the Phoenix area and specifically go to a reduced water usage kind of format. We see some areas in Arizona that already reduce their water more. Tucson does a little bit better, I think. Um, we, there's not supposed to be that much grass in the desert. We do a good job at making the desert green. Um, I kind of like to see the desert look a little bit more like just a nice curated desert than trying to make it look like an oasis. But at the same time, I understand the need for the aesthetics of having a beautiful place to live. But just trying to find that balance between how much water we're using is important. And uh, that's kind of the short answer I have for that one. It's a very complex question to continue to try to answer because water resources have,
Yeah,
in my entire lifespan in Arizona, been a constant conversation. So
understand. Well, given to what you do with the affordable healthcare and housing, right, along with effective immigration policies are essential to maintaining strong workforce. How should the federal government address these needs?
address which needs? I'm sorry.
So, affordable healthcare and housing, along with effective immigration policies.
Awesome. Yeah, we can start with affordable healthcare. I'm a person that believes that we should have a basic level of care available to everyone. The loss of the subsidies for people that are buying uh, their health insurance on the marketplace was pretty detrimental to a lot of people. People's premiums went up, I think, an average of 23% when those subsidies went away. And I think restoring those subsidies while there's more litigate or not litigation, more conversation about how to continue to work on the affordability of healthcare is important. There are some things we can do right away. We can work on the prescription drug costs right away. I think that while universal healthcare for everyone at the basic level is an important thing, we could start by at least providing universal preventive care. And while we continue to have those conversations with insurance companies on how maybe we can provide universal healthcare at a basic level and then a tiered system for people who continue to want to try to purchase higher levels of insurance, but healthcare access is extremely important. I do not think that healthcare is a luxury. I do think it is a right. Uh, a lot of us go to school to learn how to take care of people uh, because we think it's what you should do. It's not because we did it to make money. And so when you see this overreach into the healthcare system that limits the ability for people just to get preventive care or emergency care, it's really hard to see. And then your second question was about immigration or
Just
enforcement.
so affordable healthcare and housing, along with effective immigration policies, are essential to maintaining a strong workforce. How should the federal government address these needs?
Gotcha. And then for the housing portion of that, addressing those needs, we should be incentivizing builders to build affordable housing, housing that is accessible to those within like the median salary ranges, rather than having housing that people just essentially can't get into. I think that regulating the corporations that are buying up large swaths of property to make sure that they're not cornering a market and raising artificially inflating prices makes it challenging for people to continue to try to get into affordable houses. And for working people in this country, trying to afford a mortgage that is 3/4 of their monthly salaries. It's a real challenge. And so I talk to people every day when I'm out knocking on the doors, and uh, we have a lot of multi-generational homes now because kids are coming back to live with their families because they get out of school buried in debt, and then they can no longer even consider getting into a house until they're probably into their 30s or 40s, where it used to be you could get out of college, get a good job, and just start that payment into a mortgage and start your family in a home. That's not the it's not the case anymore in this country. And so trying to make sure we have systems in place that regulate uh, the median price of what's being built so people can afford it. And I trying to say I'm going to be able to bring down the interest rates for mortgages, that's a challenging question to pose, but uh, it's something that needs to be addressed.
Thank
And,
you.
and as far as strong immigration policy goes, having strong borders is important, and making sure that uh, criminals in this country illegally are being addressed is important. But it's also important that businesses are trying to adhere to the standards set forth to hire people that are legally in this country to make sure that their workers are being taken care of appropriately. I have seen working in construction industries throughout my lifetime that immigrant workers that aren't necessarily documented have been exploited. And I think that's an issue that I've talked about with the unions as well, not specifically for immigrant populations, but just worker exploitation in general and taking advantage of populations that don't have the support that they should. So,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Brian. What actions would you take to promote efficient government policies and a business-friendly tax structure?
you say the first part again? What?
Sure. What actions will you take to promote efficient government policies and a business-friendly tax structure?
I mean, first and foremost, I would just try to take a look at what the tax burden is for businesses and how that's affecting their ability to continue to grow. I would try to institute policy that um, directly relates to protecting the bottom line of these small businesses and trying to make sure that whatever businesses need to continue to succeed is available to them. I've talked with some people specifically in the construction industry that suffered from the tariff system that went into place, specifically with the cost of lumber and things like that. But I think in general, it's just trying to make sure that we don't overtax our businesses to a point that they can't continue to function. Um, and I think just having those continued conversations with different chambers to make sure that we're not changing policy rapidly and changing these laws in a way that is unpredictable for businesses is important. I think that having a predictable um, growth amount of tax expectation is important because when you're trying to make sure you're balancing your books and knowing what to expect for the future, having unpredictable policy is uh, something that can be very challenging for a business, as not knowing what your outgoing might be the next year based on constantly changing policy.
Thank you. This is our last question. How will you stay connected with and responsive to the Gilbert business community? Could you please provide us some examples?
Absolutely. I will stay engaged with the Gilbert business community just like I'm going to stay engaged with everybody in this district. I'm going to remain accessible. I will. I frequent businesses in Gilbert already, but if I get to a point where I'm actually able to help business owners, I'd like to have more continued conversations and more engagement at the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce to make sure that I'm available and open for people to have conversations, to let me know what their concerns are, to make sure that I'm actually representing them in a way that helps them be successful in their business ventures. I'd also like to see people wanting to start businesses have the ability to start businesses based on just the ability to access the funds they need and not being overburdened by different regulations that won't allow them to do what they want to be. And it's just, I come from a background of trying to solve problems. I've worked in a lot of very complex and challenging situations in my life and very critical situations. I've seen struggles in workforce development in the healthcare systems. I've seen high turnover rates. And I've always tried to be able to find a balance in making sure that those that are affected by the changes are having a voice to make sure that they can continue to be successful. And I want to do that for the businesses in Gilbert and all of Arizona. I want to be someone that if you think you have a problem that I can help you fix, there's no hesitation to come talk to me. And I want to be accessible. I plan on having regular town halls when I'm not in session. I plan on being someone that's actually a person of the people, a working person in this community that represents the working people in business communities. I don't want to be someone that gets into office and then disappears. I don't want to be someone that is a voicemail. I don't want to be someone that you get responded to with an auto format response. I want to be someone that has a team on ground that gives you an in person voice to talk to and feel like you're being heard.